Adrien Broner versus Shawn Porter. This is a fight I've been going back and forth in my head about for quite a while, because there are so many things to consider when you're picking a winner in this fight, or trying to pick a winner. This fight's been fought at catch weight, which obviously suits Adrien Broner because Shawn Porter is the much bigger man, even though at the press conference, Shawn Porter appeared to be about an inch shorter than Broner, which surprised me. I knew that Porter was short, but shorter than Adrien Broner, because Broner is short himself. But he appeared to be about an inch shorter than Broner, but nonetheless, physically, in terms of his width of his shoulders and just his muscle mass and bone density, the guy is a much bigger guy than Adrien Broner. Shawn Porter turned pro at middleweight, people. Just to put it in perspective and show you how big the guy really is. So the catch weight is going to favor Broner. Will that take away from Shawn Porter's energy and strength? The two things that he's most famous for, most known for. He's a very, very strong fighter, a very energetic fighter. So how will the catch weight affect those things? We know that Broner obviously struggled with Maidana. Well, he lost to Maidana. He was dropped twice and he couldn't deal with Maidana's strength and Maidana's swarming style and punching power. And his unorthodox punches coming at weird angles. Shawn Porter, I think, is stronger than Maidana physically. More athletic, quicker feet. But I don't think he has Maidana's power. He's not as tall as Maidana. And I don't know, I think Maidana can be wild and throws punches from awkward angles and whatnot. But Shawn Porter, I think, appears to have longer arms than Maidana, and he tends to windmill a bit more than Maidana does. And Broner being a guy who's pretty good in the pocket, I wonder whether Broner might just be able to get inside those windmill shots and do his work. These guys apparently are not strangers to each other. They have been in a ring before. I don't know whether that was amateur or whether it was sparring. They're both from Ohio. So I don't know how much the previous experience they've had in the ring together is going to play a part in the fight, but we'll see. And if anyone knows anything about the times that Broner and Porter have shared a ring together, let me know in the comment section below. I'll be interested to read up about that and find out about whether they sparred or had an amateur fight or whatever it was. So yeah, you got the catch weight thing. You got the clash of styles with Broner being the technically better fighter. In terms of punching power, you'd imagine that Shawn Porter hits harder. Porter is not a massive puncher at welterweight, it has to be said, but he's got decent power. He cranks very, very hard. Tries to get maximum leverage in his shots, but as I mentioned, he can be wild. He can windmill quite a lot, especially when he gets on the inside. On the outside, Shawn Porter's punches tend to be pretty straight, pretty decent. But when he gets up close, he tends to get very excited and throws these wide arcing shots. And the momentum of his shots can actually push you off balance and can be hard to deal with. Kell Brook was able to deal with it because Kell Brook is a big, strong welterweight himself. And he was able to wrap Shawn Porter up and prevent him from doing work on the inside with those big, wild windmill punches. So will Adrien Broner be able to do the same as Kell Brook? He's not as big or strong as Brook. Will he need to? Maybe he's got the skills to be able to out-finesse Shawn Porter on the inside without having to tie him up too much. I definitely think, as I say, there'll be a strength difference in this fight. I expect Shawn Porter to be a hell of a lot stronger in the early rounds anyway than Adrien Broner. Although with the catch weight, you don't know. With the catch weight, you would expect as the fight goes on, if the weight that Porter is having to cut is going to play a part, it's most likely going to be in the second half of the fight. So very interesting one. And you got to give all props to Al Heyman because he is willing to put his young up-and-coming fighters in against each other. That's what PBC is all about. There are people who are doubting that Beterbiev-Stevenson can happen because they don't think that Al Heyman would put them in against each other. I beg to differ. Stevenson is a guy who, yeah, he is a world champion, but he's on his way out. As far as I'm concerned, he's been slowing down in his past few fights. So Al Heyman is not stupid. He's going to know that. And he's going to know that sooner or later, he's going to have to put Stevenson in a big fight, which is going to capture the public imagination, because apparently Stevenson's viewing figures are going down. So one way to really, put Stevenson's viewing figures back up is a fight with Beterbiev. I think that fight will happen, people. As long as Stevenson and Beterbiev win their next couple fights or the next fight, I think we're going to see Stevenson-Beterbiev. They're both Al Heyman fighters. It's a win-win situation for Al Heyman. If Beterbiev loses, he's young enough to come back and do something later on in the sport of boxing. And if Stevenson loses, I don't think Heyman's really going to care, because the guy's already nearly 40 years old and he'll have a fresh, young, new star in Beterbiev. So I expect that fight to happen, and like I say, you got to give props to Al Heyman for doing these things. And when you have got all the big fighters in your stable, or the majority of them, this is what you can do. And this is what PBC is all about. It's trying to emulate the UFC model. In fact, Eddie Hearn was talking about that in his latest IFL TV interview. He was acting as though he would like to be the Al Heyman of the UK and monopolize the whole game, so he has all the fighters, and therefore all the domestic fights between all the British fighters are easy to make. And he's not far off, to be honest with you. There's a couple guys with other promoters, obviously Frank Warren and Mick Hennessy, some of the lesser known fighters with Dave Coldwell and people like that, but Eddie Hearn's got the majority of the top British fighters at the moment. Anyway, drop your comments below. Let me know how you feel about Broner versus Porter. I still ain't made my mind up, people. I might have to sit on the fence for this fight. Normally, as you know, I do make predictions and I come down on one side or the other. It's not often that I'll sit on the fence, but for this fight, I might have to sit on the fence. I don't know, man. I don't know who's going to win, the catchweight situation and then the stylistic matchup. I don't know. Let me know how you feel in the comment section below. It's your boy Hatman, I'm out.